Rondo in particular is fascinating and has been for years. You know, we do those open courts with the coaches. They routinely name Rondo as one of the smartest players in the league. And the guys who coach him, Doc Rivers, Rick Carlisle even, remember how their relationship ended, would tell you he's a brilliant basketball mind, but kind of a pain in the butt because he questions everything. What do you make of him as a personality and a player? And if you're out there shopping for a point guard, how interested are you in Rajon Rondo at this point?
I like Rondo. I've always been a fan of his. And I am attracted to people who are, who have a curious mind, who are curious about the game and who want to learn more. I come from an environment where, I was taught there's no such thing as a bad question. And the more you want to know, the more you want to learn, the better you become. And you find some coaches around the league, they don't want to communicate. Old school coaches that you had, they invited and wanted you to ask questions. Old teachers that you had in class, they wanted you to ask questions. This era here seems to be like, just do what I say, don't ask any questions. But when you have a really smart, intelligent player like Rondo, he's going to question, and you got to have answers for his questions.
Did Bob Knight invite questions?
Yes, he did.
Really?
Yes, he did.
See, that surprises me a little.
No, what Coach Knight always wanted conversation. He always wanted you to engage and be curious about the game. But what he didn't want you to do is, just be a pain in a, where, just to be doing it, just to be doing it.
Right.
But if you had questions about, defensive, offensive style, philosophies, he'll sit and talk to you all day about it.
It's interesting, the preseason predictions for the Bulls ranged about where they are right now. On the bubble for a playoff spot in the Eastern Conference, I kind of feel like that is what the roster is. I also feel like they did a little bit of a disservice to Fred Hoiberg by putting together this particular group. There isn't perimeter shooting. A lot of it just doesn't make sense. I don't know. What's your take on the roster versus the performance?
Well, I think the real concern is the fact that the young players who are the shooters haven't found a way to make it work.
Right.
Because, Doug McDermott and Mirotic, those guys are the perimeter shooters, and that should give you the floor spacing. But the fact that they haven't been consistent enough in other areas to warrant the minutes is a real concern. Mm-hmm. And so, listen, Dwayne Wade's had a pretty solid year. Mm-hmm. Jimmy Butler's playing terrifically well. They have revamped the roster, but ultimately I gotta believe that Fred Hoiberg had involvement when they were out in the free agent market and trying to put a team together that's gonna fit his philosophy. So, I can't say that this doesn't fall on his shoulders. I don't think they're in a bad situation, to your point. I think they're about where they should have thought they would be. They could be anywhere from 4 to out of the playoffs.
Right.
With the parity you have in that Eastern Conference, they just got to figure out a way to get it going, and whether or not Rondo's going to be a part of that. Now, give them credit. It's not like they gave him a long-term deal. They wanted to see if it could work. And one thing about Rondo that I've experienced in watching him over his career, he's prospered and thrived when he's had certainty, consistency, and a great culture, of stability in Boston. In the other areas, and this is a similar one because they really haven't shown that. They just had a roster revamp from a year ago. So that's not necessarily creating that kind of an environment for him to have as much success as he possibly could.
By the way, just told Dwayne Wade will play tonight against the Cavaliers. And he'll be paired up again with Jimmy Butler's coming off a 52-point game on Monday night. Where is he on the sort of superstar level rating?
Well, he's in the mix, and he should be on anybody's list of the best players in the league. I think it's interesting, though, you talk about all the issues surrounding the Chicago Bulls. The one place where the owner should be is on the front office. They're the ones who wanted a different coach. They're the ones who wanted to change the roster and got rid of some of those players. So if there's anything that's going wrong under Fred Hoiberg or with this particular team, I think it falls on the front office, and it's their responsibility to answer for it. I think Rajon Rondo, to Isaiah's point, is proving exactly what anybody that's watched his career knows about him. You can't give him a shaky set of guidelines that you want to play by as a team and expect him not to question it. They haven't figured out who they are as a group. They couldn't figure out if they wanted to play around Jimmy Butler or if it was Dwayne Wade or if it was Rondo. all of those uncertainties that you address coming into a season have to be addressed by somebody higher up the food chain, apparently, than Fred Hoiberg. If the front office didn't do it, I don't think it's cool now to make Rajon Rondo the scapegoat for them being exactly who we thought they'd be.